I'm your host, standing 5 foot nothing, weighing 100 and nothing, and I went to high school at the same time as LeBron James. Same era, same teenage years, and while I was out here just trying to make the JV squad, that man was already on the cover of Sports Illustrated. LeBron is 3 months older than me, 3 months, and I've spent my entire adult life staring up at what he's been able to accomplish. Age 41, still making magic happen. Absolutely remarkable. Meanwhile, OKC just swept those Lakers. The Knicks look like the best team in the East. Wemby put up 27, 17, and 5 like he was playing a pickup game. And in Major League Baseball, pitcher arms are literally falling apart at nearly 3 times the rate they were in 2010. We need to talk about that. Oh, and the NFL schedule just dropped tonight. It's a big one. Welcome back to JetKoa Sports. We got a lot of ground to cover. Remember to subscribe, and let's get into it. Starting with the NBA, the Thunder swept the Lakers. It could be the last time we see LeBron, although I doubt he is going out this way. LeBron is one of the greatest to ever play the game. And we got to see a little bit of magic still this season as he helped propel the Lakers over their first round opponent, the Houston Rockets. It's absolutely remarkable what he has been able to do in his entire career since he was 18 years old. He's 3 months older than I am, and I've been staring at his accomplishments my whole life. The dude can straight hoop. Now, the Lakers' future is a bit murky. It is now Luka's team, so it'll be interesting to see how they address the roster. LeBron would be a great piece for them next year, but the financials make it pretty impossible to keep their big three together and improve in other areas. So it looks like changes are coming. The Lakers need defense, and Luka likes pick and roll partners that roll to the alley-oop. So we're probably going to get some bigs that can jump. Will they be able to play Reeves and Luka together for big chunks, seeing as they're not the greatest defenders? I do think they can, but I feel the Lakers are going to be headed towards building a similar roster to the one Luka had in Dallas. Now, moving to the Lakers' opponent, the Oklahoma City Thunder, what do they have going well for them in this postseason? They have an elite defense, both perimeter and on the inside. Their rim protection is really only matched by Wemby and the Spurs. They're able to turn defensive stops into transition buckets, so their defense immediately provides points. But they also have an awesome ability to run their offense in half-court settings. They have a tremendous half-court offense. If they had any weaknesses, it would probably be that their three-point shooting can be spotty at times, and they rely on free throws for massive chunks of their points. So what happens if the free throw line and the three-point arc is shut off to them in a game? And what happens if the free throw line and the three-point arc is shut off when they're playing the Spurs or even the Timberwolves? I really think that's where the other teams in the West can jump on the Thunder. And I truly think the Spurs can push them to the edge. And Ant-Man is a beast, but I think he would have a harder time against OKC. Moving over to the East, the Knicks swept the Sixers. Joel Embiid gave it his all. He was a couple weeks removed from an appendectomy, and he just didn't have the conditioning or his game built up to the level it needed to be. The Knicks absolutely manhandled the Sixers, so a healthy Joel Embiid probably wouldn't have fixed that alone. But thinking towards next year, can they really keep Embiid on the roster? I mean, he is injury prone, and he often seems unhappy in Philly. So I honestly think it's time to call the process over and move forward with Maxey and Edgecombe as the focal points of your team. They are the future, and they're both extremely talented. So that would be the smart move. Like, refocus all your efforts around those two guys. Now, the trouble is Embiid and Paul George are still under contract. So they're going to need to find trade partners if they want to move those other guys and really build a new roster around their backcourt. And Joel Embiid is making $60 million plus a year in the final 2 years, plus a player option in 28 for another like $65 million. So it's going to be really hard to find a trade partner because Embiid is injury prone and he won't be able to provide any new team with a full season. Like, you can't expect him to come in and play 80 games. You just can't. So the Sixers might be stuck with Embiid and PG next year. And I think that's fine, honestly, as long as both PG and, more importantly, Joel Embiid realize that the guards are the future. And Embiid's role is to literally dominate in the post. But outside of that, we don't need him dominating the entire offensive possessions, and he doesn't need to be doing a lot of the ball handling. We need him to focus on the post. And then I think the Sixers can start to build around their backcourt with these albatross contracts. But we'll see what happens in the offseason. The team that beat them, the New York Knicks, are playing extremely amazing basketball. They have arguably the best starting five in the game. I said that to start the postseason, and they have shown that to be the truth since Game 4 of the first round. Jalen Brunson can score at will, a big plus for the Knicks and any team in the postseason. Karl-Anthony Towns can create mismatches against any team he plays. Another huge advantage that they have this 7-foot offensive guru who can just create mismatches all over the court. And then they got Hart, Anunoby, and Mikal Bridges on the wing, and they are absolutely great defenders that can add a little bit of offense from here and there. So I said this against Philly, and I'm going to repeat it for the rest of the playoffs. The Knicks' perimeter is in good shape. And if their wings can shut down and outscore the opposition's wings, then the Knicks will be fine. Because Brunson can eat whenever. And Cat's offensive game is that unique for a big man that if those wings are balling, the starting five of the Knicks is going to be hard to beat. Their biggest weakness is going to be the bench depth. Like, after you get past that starting five, will they be able to hang with the Thunder and Spurs teams that can go 9-10 deep? That's really what we'll be looking for in the finals. The other series in the East saw the Cavs beat the Pistons in Game 5 to take a 3-2 series lead. I think it's been very obvious all postseason, but it's more pressing now. The Pistons do not have a second option. Cade Cunningham has been absolutely brilliant in the playoffs. He might be playing the best out of any superstar in the postseason if you consider what his team is asking of him and how little help he has on the court. Tobias Harris has been the Pistons' second best player. I love Tobias Harris. He's the oldest dude on the roster at 33, and he is not known for being a lights-out scorer. They really need somebody else who can put the ball in the hoop in crunch situations. The Cavs, on the other hand, they got James Harden, and he had another good playoff game. That's his second in a row, and he's looking to erase our memories of his past playoff performances. Mitchell was having an awful game and could not buy a three-pointer all day, but he finished with 21 points on 8 of 21 shooting, turning it on in the second half when the Cavs really needed it. They were down, and Harden and Mitchell brought them back. I'm not quite sure why I favored the Pistons at the beginning of the series. They still have the same offensive issues that I felt would cause them to lose to Orlando. And while I do like Paolo Banchero, Mitchell and Harden are more proven scorers. They've been doing it for a lot longer, and I don't know why I didn't think they could do it against the Pistons. And the Cavs are now in the driver's seat, and they should win this series. Winners of Game 5 usually win the series like 70 to 80% of the time across all 7-game series. The questions will be, can Harden continue to play well in the clutch? His history says no, but the past 2 games have shown us, yes, he can. And will Donovan Mitchell be able to join him on that same day? Alternatively, can Cade do this alone? Those are kind of the questions. And I think these questions will ultimately decide the winner. And Cade will need to score 40-plus points in the next 2 games to have a chance. While the Cavs really only need Harden to do his thing for 1 game, while Donovan is also hitting his shots. Like, if they both score 30 in a game, the Cavs win this series. Moving back to the West, the Spurs beat the Wolves in Game 5 to take a 3-2 series lead. Wemby is an absolute force. His final numbers, 27 points, 17 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 blocks. And that doesn't even tell the whole story. Wemby's size causes shooters all over the court to second-guess their moves. And the results are real, and they're visible. Anthony Edwards has been playing very good basketball. But I do wonder how much his knee is affecting him overall. He kept his three-point attempts down in Game 5, but he also didn't shoot much at all in Game 5. I think he had like 13 shots. And the Wolves definitely need a bigger presence from Ant-Man if they want to come back and win this series. Elsewhere on the Wolves, Gobert is just flat overmatched, and he became somewhat problematic when on the court in Game 5. Minnesota does well when they attack the paint, and Gobert has not been effective offensively against Wemby or the other Spurs, for that matter, and he is not a shooting threat. So Gobert tends to clog the paint and make it very difficult for Ant-Man and Randle to get inside and go to work. On the other hand, the Spurs just need to keep playing their game. Attack Jaden McDaniels early and often to push him into foul trouble, and then the Wolves' D starts to show some cracks. Wemby was calm and collected in Game 5, and he dominated. I asked him in my last video to lead by example, and he most definitely did that. He needs to keep that same temperament, and then the Spurs will be fine. Dylan Harper continues to provide the Spurs with another late-game scorer. Stephon Castle is a big physical guard that is making his presence felt all over the court. And I think the youth is being dusted off. The Spurs should take this series, and I think they will be ready for the Thunder.
Hi, David. My question is, what player has impressed you so far in the playoffs?
What player has impressed me so far? I did touch on it a second ago. Cade Cunningham has been absolutely phenomenal. And I think he has probably played the best out of any superstar when you consider that he has no help on the Detroit Pistons at all. And they are asking him to do everything, and he's doing it. His turnovers sit just under 5 a game, which is definitely high. But his usage rate is so high that that's going to happen. When your team is asking you to do everything, turnovers will happen. I think there's honorable mention. Wemby's been fantastic. Anthony Edwards is coming into his own. Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns have been brilliant. And OG Anunoby. Talk about someone getting a pay increase. He might have got himself a lot of money in this postseason. I hope he gets back on the court. He's injured right now. But OG Anunoby has also just been brilliant. That's a great question. Thank you, Bella. Moving to baseball. Yankees ace Max Fried got injured. He pulled in the 3rd inning of his last start. The imaging was somewhat positive for the Yankees and for Fried. He's going to miss the next couple of weeks, 2 to 3, and rest should prevent this injury from becoming structural and something that needs surgery. Apparently, he's been feeling this issue all season, and this most recent game, it affected his pitch velocity. He normally sits around 95 miles per hour, and his first 3 fastballs of the last game were 89, 90, 91 miles per hour. So quite a few ticks below the average, which is usually a sign of injury. And it was just time to address it. And the Yankees' rotation should be able to withstand a short absence. Their rotation has been absolutely filthy, and they do have Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon coming back soon. So I think letting Fried rest now is a smart move. And speaking of injuries, Fried Skubal may be brought back sooner than originally thought. I don't have all the info here, but it looks like the Tigers will want Skubal to build up innings before the trade deadline. And I thought the Tigers would trade him at midseason anyways. And so to me, that seems like the real driving force here is to get him back on the field to show value before the trade deadline so the Tigers can get something substantial back for him. I think Skubal needs to really think about what is best for his arm and his future before trying to rush his way back to the mound. And sticking with pitcher injuries, pitchers specifically, pitchers are throwing harder than ever with way more movement than ever. And it seems that their arms may be at risk. We have roughly 280 UCL surgeries each year between the major leagues and the minor leagues. That is up from 100 such surgeries in 2010, almost a 200% increase in surgeries. Major league pitchers now see roughly 12,000 days on the IL each year, which is up from 4,000 days in 2010. Youth baseball is now year-round, so players have more wear and tear before they even get to professional baseball. They're throwing harder, earlier, longer. Not good for kids and eventual major leaguers. Now, some of that extended IL stint and increase in surgeries is due to having better health information and being able to see an issue developing and taking actions earlier to prevent real damage. That is definitely part of it. And some is due to the pitch clock. It's not letting people fully recover in between pitches. They got to get another throw off at 100 miles an hour in 12 seconds. So your arm just doesn't have that time to recover. That's going to cause more tears, more strains. And pitchers are throwing more pitches at 100 miles per hour than ever before in the history of mankind. And those same pitches are sweeping, dipping, and diving way more than they ever have. And these injury numbers are alarming. But now we're going to move on to actual baseball. Tampa Bay remains atop the AL East, and the Yankees just lost Max Fried for a bit. It is a great time for the Rays to try to extend their divisional lead. The Cleveland Guardians are atop the AL Central. Cleveland is usually competitive, but I did think they would have a down year in 2026, and I think they still might, but the AL Central is down across the board. So look for the Guardians to remain in the hunt for a division title. And the trade deadline will be extremely interesting in both the AL and the NL Centrals. The AL Central, they're just playing so bad, it's going to be interesting to see if one or two teams actually makes trades to go for the division title, or if they all just start planning on the future. The NL Central we'll get to in a little bit, but that'll be interesting as well. The Athletics are atop the AL West. I picked them to make the playoffs as a wild card, and I still like them in that spot. Seattle is bound to rebound, right? So, and they have an extremely talented team. So I'm still happy with the A's in the playoffs. I'll keep them at the wild card. The Atlanta Braves are still atop the NL East, and they're not going anywhere. They should win this division. The NL East does usually have a team come back from way down in the second half of the season to secure the divisional title. So this is not written in stone just yet. But in my eyes, the Phillies and the Mets are the two teams that could have done that. And the Mets have put themselves in such a hole that they're not coming back. And the Phillies just look old. And they're going to get older as the season goes on. So I think the Braves are pretty safe here. And I hope they win the East in memory of Ted Turner. That'd be a great story for Atlanta. Moving to the NL Central, the Chicago Cubs are still on top. This entire division is still above 500, which is absolutely unheard of. So the trade deadline is going to be extremely interesting. Could we have all 5 teams in the same division buying at the trade deadline, trying to win that division title? I don't know this, but like that might be a first, that all 5 teams in a division are a buyer. That's going to be very interesting to keep an eye on. We do have, 2.5 months till the trade deadline, so a lot can happen. But it's going to be very interesting to see which teams value their prospects moving forward, believe their future is brighter over a division title this year, and which teams literally sell the farm to win a division title. Moving to the West, the San Diego Padres are tied with the Dodgers atop the NL West. San Diego's a good team. I've talked about them before on the show. They do need to get their offense humming right now. They really need to be humming on all cylinders to maintain this spot in the lead. And even with that, it's going to be difficult because we're talking about holding off the Dodgers and all of the talent of the LA Dodgers. One thing to note as the Padres look for offensive answers, though, is the Dodgers have some injuries right now, and Shohei is not hitting that well. These are the kind of circumstances that develop over the course of 162 games, and teams need to really be ready to capitalize on them. The Padres have capitalized, and they need to continue to take advantage of the Dodgers' injuries and the Dodgers' growing pains. Moving to the NFL. We don't have a whole lot to cover here, but the Dolphins signed De'Von Achane to a 4-year, $64 million deal with $32 million guaranteed. The Dolphins have talked about signing a few of the guys they determined to be franchise building blocks. Achane is one of them. And with the addition of Malik Willis at quarterback, the Dolphins are going to look to run the ball with Achane to allow Willis to settle into this new starting role. And Achane has averaged 1,000 rushing yards and 400 receiving yards each season for the past 3 seasons. And I do assume that workload's going to increase next year. So fantasy managers, keep an eye on Achane. And this is also awesome because the running backs are starting to get paid again. Saquon led the Eagles to a Super Bowl. Kenneth Walker was hitting explosives in the postseason and got the Seahawks to the Super Bowl, which they won. A great running back can be the difference maker. You need to be able to run the ball in the playoffs to keep the defense on their toes. And you can plug and play a running back when you have an extremely dominating O-line. But you can also just find a great running back that makes a decent O-line look amazing. And that's going to probably cost less. It's one player. But yeah, that's pretty much all. I think they dropped the NFL schedule tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. I have not had a chance to look at it fully yet, but go check it out. I hear Thanksgiving and Christmas week will be awesome for American football fans. Thanks for joining us at JetKoa Sports. Please jump into the comments if you think I missed the mark on something, or if you just flat disagree with me. I would love to get into it either way. And remember to subscribe so you receive my weekly takes, and have a great weekend.
Yeah, I'm so fresh like the morning, mouth wide open like they yawning. Every time they see me, they in G-Shock. Homie, this is